Yo, this is for you. I am my number one fan. For you, this is for you. I am my number one fan. For you, yo, this is for you. I am my number one fan. For you, I am my number one fan. I'm trying to get you from here to there. I'm trying to show niggas it ain't fair. How I just came up, but you not there. Stuck in the same situation you been in. They got the plug, you got the sound. You not just a groupie that's hanging around. They got the stage, but you bring the lights. It's enough room at the top, we ain't gotta fight. I am my number one fan. I am that legend you stand for. When the crowds disperse, we'll see what you stand for.
This is
the Neighbors Podcast.
He's Reese.
He's Arnold.
Listen to us on
iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and YouTube.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
And y'all can listen to us daily.
Every day. Yeah, y'all, we back.
Yes.
I hope y'all had a good weekend like we did, because we had a great weekend.
Right on.
And now we just want to thank everybody for tuning back in and listening to the Neighbors Podcast.
Yes. We love y'all feedback. Most definitely.
Yes, all the comments, all the likes, and all the subscribes, y'all.
Right.
Yes.
And continue to share with your friends.
Yeah.
And continue to let them know what's going on and how we're trying to move and shake this podcast.
Yeah, remember, because we're doing this for y'all. We're doing this because we're trying to build a community. We're trying to build a stronger neighborhood. And we're basically doing this all so we all can be on one accord.
And we are definitely tackling some topics that kind of plague our neighborhoods.
Yes, and some that have been plaguing our neighborhoods for years.
Right. So we've talked about how the military, how that has affected our neighborhoods and our families and stuff. We've talked about, do you even have to yell to be heard?
Yeah, I do.
We've talked about how, what's the pillar of your family and what is that considered?
Uh-huh.
And then, what, mama, I made it.
Yeah.
So with that, we just love to hear what y'all have to say about those topics and things like that. But we're going to dig deep into another one today.
Yeah, so, this is something that has been plaguing our communities for a long time.
Most definitely.
And this topic right here is personal to me because of my personal history with this topic. So, today we're going to just talk about drug addiction and how it affects our community.
Right. So most of us has been in a community where we might have seen it every day.
Right.
And we might have run into the people that we consider smoky.
Right.
And or those that might have been consider our role models also.
Correct.
Because even though they might have been dealing it, they might have been on it at the same time.
Right.
But also with this type of topic, it also depends on your own experiences.
Yeah.
And where you've lived, and which also will dictate what type of drugs might have been in your neighborhood too.
Correct.
So there were probably different levels of addiction that you may have experienced or you may have seen. It might have been addiction across the board is the same, but in reference to the levels is different.
Right.
And the types are different, and the mixing of different drugs here and there, these different type of cocktails or whatever else is different too.
Right.
So and then also depends on what's your definition of drug addiction too.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that everybody may have a different interpretation of what drug addiction is, or a different definition of what drug addiction is.
Right.
So I don't know the precise clinical definition is, but from what I understand, drug addiction is anything that you become addicted to that takes over your life.
Right.
And certain drugs, there are physical addictions with the drugs, and some of a lot of it's mental. Like some that are physical or the heroin addictions, because when you go through heroin withdrawal, which I've never been through that, but I've known people that have been through heroin withdrawal. It affects your body differently than opposed to snorting cocaine or smoking crack or smoking marijuana and even drinking. You have drugs that people put inside their drinks.
Right.
Popping pills and all that. But addiction is something that you become dependent on mentally and physically,
Right.
and it basically takes over your life.
Right.
So with that said, let me tell you about me for real quick, give you a little brief background on my drug addiction. Years ago in the 80s, when I guess when it was cool to sell cocaine, I guess I can say that. And I had a venture on early on with smoking marijuana. I'm not saying that marijuana was my gateway, just that we all smoke weed. So, and as we started making money, we started snorting because at that particular time, we're talking about the late 80s, middle 80s, late 70s. Cocaine was always a rich man's high. So in order for you, if you could afford cocaine, you thought you was doing something, so that became the thing on the weekend. And we would hustle, and then we would party and we would snort because everybody else was doing it. And then the crack came out and the smoking of cocaine. Some people used to call it freebasing. And then slowly, I turned from snorting to smoking cocaine. So I had a long bout, in and out of prison with it, and it took over my life. It almost destroyed. Well, it kind of did destroy my family. But it destroyed it to the point that it took me out of my family's life. So, yes, it did destroy my family. And there was restless nights. There was sleepless nights. There was times that I have robbed and stole from people. There was times that I have conned people. It was anything just to get that next high, And you would think that for a person to be strong and their mind was strong, you wouldn't think that anything would be able to take over you. But that's the miss moment right there, because you think that this drug wouldn't affect you because I can beat this, I can do this, I can just do this one time or a couple of times and stop. But that's where a lot of people, they're wrong. So you have a lot of people right now today that are under some type of drug addiction, whether it be the biggest thing right now is the opioid thing, which opioids have always been around. In particular in our neighborhoods also. And you have a lot of people that take the pills, and you really don't hear too much about people snorting cocaine or smoking crack, but it's out there. It's still out there.
Yeah.
And addiction can tear a family apart. It can tear friendships apart. And like I said, you can go to jail. You can die from it. You can overdose from it. Some people, depending on what it is, if it's meth, it will mess up your teeth, destroy your brain. I mean, not your brain. Well, your brain too, and your bone structure of your body, and just have you in a mental state that you're just stuck. I just want to thank my family and God and everybody else that I had a chance to work on me and come from out that. I've been clean 20 years now.
Nice.
Thank you. I don't drink. I don't smoke no cigarettes. I don't smoke no weed. I don't do anything because me personally, I know that I can't do just one thing. If I do one thing, it leads me back to something else.
Got you.
So I'm not saying that I'm weak. I'm just saying I know what my limitations are.
Right.
So, yeah, of course, some days I'll be wishing, I like to smoke a joint. Oh, excuse me if you're any young people out there that's listening. I know you guys probably smoke blunts. But, back in my day, we smoked joints. We rolled them up with Easy Wider and stuff. But I can't do none of that stuff personally top paper. Yeah. I can't do any of that stuff personally because I know where that stuff is going to lead me.
Right.
And I do not want to revisit that part of my life or that time in my life. I have a lot that's going on with me. I have a lot of things positive that's going on with me.
Right.
And I chalk all that up as an experience to help me to be where I'm at today and to maybe help somebody else that's listening. Now, one thing I do know about drug addiction is this. A lot of times programs don't usually help you out because if the individual doesn't want to stop, you can go to as many programs as you want to. As long as you as long as you still have in your mind that you want to get high, you're going to get high. So it's really up to the individual to say that, this is it. I'm done. And you have reached that point where, this is it. I'm at the end of my rope.
Mm-hmm.
So not knocking any program or anything like that. The programs work if you work with the programs.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to the program just to be going with them, I've seen that in a lot of these rooms. We call them rooms because that's where they have the meetings at in a lot of different rooms.
Okay.
And a lot of people just go there because what they're doing is they're resting up for the next binge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've done that myself. So I'm telling you from experience, you know.
So as I'm looking up the definition for drug addiction, it says drug addiction is a chronic brain disease that causes powerful physical and psychological cravings for mind-altering substances, including illegal intoxicants like cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and PCP.
Yeah.
Many people also become addicted to misused prescription drugs or to chemical substances not manufactured for human consumption, like inhalants, anything to party drugs like ecstasy, hallucinogens like LSD, or to marijuana.
Right.
So, and quite honestly, you see a lot of people addicted to each and every one of these, if not all of these at the same time.
Correct.
Because of them trying to get to another level of high.
Right, right.
Also, me personally, I did not participate in drugs. Personally, that did not mean I wasn't around it.
Right.
That it was not me. That did not mean that I did not have friends that were doing it.
Right.
And that did not mean that I shunned them away and wasn't even in the room with them.
Right.
It's like, for an example, back in the day, not going to incriminate myself, but being with some friends and I was with this one friend. We was out playing basketball and whatnot, and then we decided to go to another friend's house who was actually, on his grind.
Right.
And they're like, "Yo, Reese, like, you gonna stay or you gonna chill? You leave?" I'm like, "I'll stay. I'll chill with y'all." They started rolling up and everything. I was like, "Reese, you want anything?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." So they rolled up a little something. Then we ended up walking to the pharmacy, and they went and bought some cough syrup. So then we go back to the house. There, they drink the cough syrup and smoking.
Right.
So, I mean, naturally, I caught a contact high.
Right.
Quite naturally, because everything was filled up. The whole house seemed like it was full of smoke. But the other part of that, too, is I saw one of my friends, he had talking about he saw Batman running around on the floor.
Yeah, he had something good.
Yeah. So for him to talk about Batman and shaking Batman's hand and talking about Batman running and jumping up on the TV and things like that, yo, let me tell you, that was the funniest thing ever. But, hindsight looking back was that even though we were young and it seemed funny, but how much was he really affected?
Right, right.
And I kind of see him in passing now, but I'm not sure exactly where he is mentally.
Right. Yeah.
It's a little questionable right now. You get what I mean?
I can really relate with that as far as like I've seen people that I used to get high with, we have smoked with or drink with or whatever, and I see them today, and I'm like, yo, you're still doing this?
Yeah.
They were like, you really still just this is your life right now, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, man. And it's amazing when once your mind becomes clear and you free yourself of all these types of different substances and you can see things better.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, that I've really used to do this. So I can relate to everything that you're saying about, except for the part of not being around, because I was always that dude that, yo, you want to get high? Let's go. Come on with it. Because to me, that was all about, partying. I was hanging out. I was being me, doing whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that came with the territory, But we never think about the real reason why people do use drugs. See, we self-medicate.
Right.
You don't know what a person is going through.
Right.
You don't know the type of issues they may have. They may have been abused. They may have domestic problems at home. Their parents may be going through some stuff. They may be drug addicts, and that's all they see. So they figure this is the only way that my family know how to cope. So this is how we cope, and we self-medicate a lot in the hood. We definitely do. And a lot of that is because we don't like to talk to psychiatrists. We don't like to go seek help, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
It's basically cheap.
So, and